up? So we're in Williamsburg, and it's another beautiful day out, so I gotta take the bike out. I'm gonna be biking up to Astoria Park to visit my friend Christy where she's doing some training. So we'll do that, and then we'll come back real quick, but I'll take you along for this ride as well. Alright, we're back with another POV video, and if you take a look at the right side, I have timestamps for each part of the ride, so if you just want to skip ahead to a specific section of the ride, you could do so by navigating right to those timestamps on the right hand side of your screen. I'm still not sure what people prefer, if you prefer these full POV bike rides, or if you would just prefer a montage, kind of like my Festive 50 video. If you have an opinion, please let me know in the comments, but this is going to be another full POV ride from McCarren Park all the way up to Astoria Park. So right now we're going up 14th Street from McCarren Park, and we're about to hook a right onto Kent Avenue. So Kent Avenue is a pretty well marked off bike lane. We're going to be heading towards the Greenpoint area, and once we get onto Franklin Avenue, which is coming up here, there's like a lot of shops and a lot of restaurants. It's a pretty nice and calm neighborhood when you compare it to Williamsburg, just because not that many people like taking the G train, and that's really the only train that comes up to this area, unless you want to take a ferry over. On a day like this, ferry's not that bad because it was like almost 68 degrees. I was wearing a short sleeve and shorts on this ride, and I was sweating, and it's crazy because it's almost mid-January and we're getting almost spring-like weather. To the left over here is the Expo Center. Whenever there's an anime convention, it normally happens over there in that convention center. Yeah, this is a nice quiet little neighborhood of Greenpoint. There's a lot of little shops and things like that. You could have some food, have some coffee, and it won't be busy with people, at least not compared to Williamsburg. So we're going to be heading up this road to get to the Pulaski Bridge, and I kind of like doing these videos just to give you guys a look at what it's like to bike around in New York City. So if you see anything or are curious about what it's like to bike in New York City, I hope these videos are helpful to you, or even if you want to do this route, it's pretty nice route even if you're not a regular cycler. All the roads that I take are pretty much bike lanes. I look at all my routes on Strava and connect it to my GPS beforehand, so all the roads they recommend are for cyclists. So we're going to be coming up here onto Eagle Street, which is a street that cuts across straight to the entrance of the Pulaski Bridge. As you see, sometimes you have to be careful around these corners, especially cars that park really close to the corner of an intersection. Sometimes people who are crossing the street don't have enough time to see around the corner if there's a cycler coming. So you just got to be careful there. Got some people hanging out here in the bike lane. I don't really mind, people kind of out and about if there's no room to stand, things like that. Just be aware that you are in the bike lane and acknowledge people coming through. So right now we're approaching here onto the Pulaski Bridge, which you saw from my Festive 50 video, and this takes you from Greenpoint, Brooklyn into Long Island City, Queens. So it is yet another connection point. Like you saw in my other video, the Kosciuszko Bridge also connected Brooklyn and Queens. This bridge also goes over the same little creek of water that comes in and splits Brooklyn and Queens. So I'm really powering through up here. As you see, my speed picked up going uphill. This is a nice bridge because they even wall off the bike lane from the pedestrian lane, where most of the other bridges, they're combined. But this is really nice that they have a completely walled off bike lane. I'll show you a little bit of the view from this bridge as we're crossing over it. You get a really good view of the Empire State Building here. And as you saw from the photo I took on my Festive 50 ride, I took a photo of some of those boats down there. Yeah, it's always a beautiful view going across this bridge. It was funny, a couple weeks ago, a driver had actually turned into the bike lane thinking that it was a lane for cars, and they had to get him out of it. They got stuck here because this is a little bit too narrow for an actual car, but I think it's happened twice already where someone tried to drive onto it thinking it was kind of like a service road on the bridge, which it's not. It's meant for bikes. So this is going to empty out here into Long Island City, Queens. As I said, this is 49th Avenue. So this is quite an interesting intersection. Tried to make it over across before it turned red, but that intersection has multiple roads going into it, so you have to just be cautious. As long as, you know, the pedestrian walk sign is on, and be aware and be cautious as you're biking through. So we're coming along Vernon Boulevard. We're going to make a right over here. And Vernon Boulevard pretty much takes you all the way up to Astoria. So we're going to be sticking onto this road for quite a bit. But this is going to take you right through Long Island City. And there's also a lot of restaurants along Vernon Boulevard in Long Island City. A lot of nice restaurants. So if you're ever in the area, the 7 train also services this area. To the right there, that's actually a 7 train, but it's closed on the weekend on this area. But yeah, there's a lot of good restaurants here. One of my favorite restaurants, Sweet Chick, which is also in Williamsburg, they have one over here in Long Island City around this area. And it's not as busy as the Williamsburg location, so if you do want to try out Sweet Chick and you don't want to deal with the crowds, recommend going to Long Island City. And if you head over to the left here, that'll take you to Gantry State Park, which was also featured in my Festive 50 video, which is a really nice park along the water, and there's a couple luxury buildings over there. But it's really nice to just chill out, relax, and take a look at the New York City skyline. And yeah, just chill. So, I see a couple green lights here, so I'm speeding up a little bit to catch them all. As you can see off to the distance is the Queensborough Bridge. And as we get closer to the Queensborough Bridge, it gets a little bit more industrial and warehousey. I think there's some bakeries or like bread shops that deliver out to a lot of the places around Queens and Brooklyn, because every time I bike around this area, it smells really good, like freshly baked bread, and it just smells delicious around here. But there's like no shops here, so they're kind of like the big mass bakeries that just, you know, put them all onto the bread trucks that deliver them to all the delis and stuff in the morning. At least that's what I think. I haven't actually looked into that, but that's what I can only assume. But yeah, this is the more industrial area. As you can see, the Queensborough Bridge there, we're getting pretty close to it now, and we've got this big wide bike lane here on Vernon Blvd, which is great. A lot of people out on their bikes today. Like I said, it was almost 70 degrees. Such a beautiful day for January. So a lot of people out there on their city bikes. You can see now we're getting really close to the Queensborough Bridge. Let's see if we could sneak a peek over here to look out over the Queensborough Bridge. There are some warehouses over here that kind of block the view a little bit, but you can see it. We'll actually get a better view on the other side. And here we go, right underneath the Queensborough Bridge. And right on the other side is the entrance to Queensbridge Park, which has a really beautiful view of the Queensborough Bridge. And it's a park, so you could just hang out here. There's some nice grass. There's a nice pathway right along the water that you could go straight up to and take a look at the skyline. But yeah, right underneath the bridge over there, it's really nice. A good place to hang out if you want to sunbathe, you know, in the middle of January. Taking a look out here over the bridge and across the water. It's Roosevelt Island that you see over there. That's not actually Manhattan. That's a little strip of island that's right in between Queens and Manhattan. Yeah, this is a nice little pathway that takes you right through the park. So now we've kind of completed the loop through the park, and we're going to be heading back to Vernon Boulevard to continue along our way north. Now we're back onto Vernon Boulevard and continuing on north. You can see this big power plant over here. I believe this is the Con Ed power plant. The Con Edison is the company that services the electricity throughout the entire New York area. So continue your way up here. This is a nice wide open area if you ever want to practice doing some sprints and things like that and not having to stop at red lights. This is a nice stretch to do that. Nice wide open bike lane with, people once in a while just stopping and checking their phones along the way. So right up along here is the only road bridge that takes you into Roosevelt Island. So if you ever wonder how people live on Roosevelt Island and get cars over there, this is this bridge over here. It's the only way you could drive onto Roosevelt Island. The other ways to get onto Roosevelt Island are, I believe, the F train will take you there. The other way is the Skyway. It's a tram that's right along the Queensbridge Bridge that will take you up and over into Roosevelt Island. So we are continuing along Vernon Blvd. And we're going to come across another park over here, and this here on the left is going to be Rainy Park, and the bike path will take you right through it as well, like we did in Queensbridge Park. It's a little further up north, but it's a nicer park. It's a little bit more wide open, a lot more people, a lot more dogs are out here, but very similar to Queensbridge Park. So we're taking this bike path along here. Take a look out over the water. A nice small little park, and we're gonna continue to loop around here on the bike path. And if you take a look at that building in front of me with that iconic red stripe, that is the Costco in Queens. Full-size Costco right in the middle of Astoria, Queens, along the water. So if you're in Manhattan and, wondering how you could get access to a Costco, there's one right across the East River in Astoria, Queens. As you see, there's a Costco logo right there on the building. A lot of people going in there with cars because you gotta buy those family size and bulk supplies. Over here on the left, we're not going to go inside, but it's Socrates Sculpture Park, which is nice. They have some cool sculptures in there that you could walk around and take a look at. Once in a while in the summer, they'll have some events there. They had the Adult Swim Comedy Central festival in there a couple of years ago. Let's take a peek inside there real quick, but yeah, there's little metal sculptures in there along the path. This park's van is driving in the bike lane, so I had to get out of there real quick because I don't think there's enough room for me to pass with that van in there. But yeah, we're continuing along north. Astoria Park is at the very northern tip of Queens, right underneath the RFK Bridge, or formerly known as the Triborough Bridge. I still call it the Triborough Bridge, but they changed the name to the RFK Bridge. So now we're making our way to 8th Street. That is the end of Vernon Boulevard. It splits off into Main Avenue and 8th Street. There's a nice little incline over here that I need to warm up the legs and power through. As you can see from that biker in front of me, gotta put a little effort here on this incline. And up here we are going to hook a right. So I was coming along here to 9th Street and I saw this bike path sign that points to the left. So I take it. I actually thought this was going to be Shore Boulevard. The sign said Shore Point. I believe it's like this bike path in front of this huge building on the right that sign was pointing to, that there should be a bike path here. And it leads you to this dead end down here, and it's a decline, so getting a little bit of speed. But as you see, getting down here to the bottom, the gate is closed to that path that goes in front of that building. I guess it's not open yet, and we're just a block away from Shore Boulevard, the actual road that you're supposed to take. That biker, as you saw in front of me before, he followed me as I confidently made that left turn, and he's asking me, where I'm headed. He also was looking at that sign with some skepticism, and he decided to follow me because he saw me just turn in there, and we both were bummed out when we saw that gate was closed. But we gotta bike up this hill again. So we're back out here onto the road, and as you'll see, we were just one block away from the correct left turn, which will be 9th Street that turns into, or will be 12th Street. This will be 12th Street that turns onto Shore Boulevard, which is the road that goes right in front of Astoria Park, which is where we want to go. So you can see that building again. We're just one block over. This road is a little bumpy. There's a lot of cracks and little potholes. So I changed up my setup for this ride on my little extension arm that goes out from the front of my bike to make sure that it doesn't slip down. In my previous ride, it kept on slipping down and I had to keep readjusting it, but I made some adjustments for this ride and I didn't have to touch it at all. I was pretty happy now with my extension arm for my 360 camera that's pointing out in front of my bike. But as you see now, we're getting over. This is Astoria Park now to the right hand side, and it is really large and it runs underneath the RFK Bridge, as you see right above me. So RFK Bridge goes all the way across to Randall's Island and continues all the way to Manhattan. And it also goes up north. It kind of splits into Manhattan and north into the Bronx, which is why it used to be called the Tri-Borough Bridge, because it connected three boroughs: Queens, Bronx and Manhattan, while also going across Randall's Island, which is where, if you ever heard of Electric Zoo, the music festival, it's just across that bridge. And that's it. We're at Astoria Park now.
Mendoza, New York Wolves 2020. Sponsor me. You're not only sponsoring me, you're sponsoring female empowerment, women in sports, strong, independent women.
So that's it, that's a video. We had two really nice days here in New York, so I wanted to take the bike out. Might be the only time I'm able to take my bike out in the winter, but hope to take you out to more of these trips with me, riding along. But until then, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.